Good evening. My name is Mason-Seaman, a senior at the Dillard College of Business and with the major in MIS. And today I actually am going to present on the case, which was the job stress case. It was a case that actually personally resonated with me because I have worked stressful jobs in the past, as well as the experience that and knowledge that I've gained in this class actually has helped me in terms of dealing with stressful situations, especially in the work environment. So, background information on the case. So, Jim Miller was a ticket agent for Friendly Airlines for over 3 years, and his job had begun to be very stressful, mainly due to the fact that Friendly Airlines has been overbooking their flights so that every seat possible is filled, and increasing their service to their customers to live up to their name. Now, Jim, of course, even though he has experience in this, had to start this new policy and go forth with this new policy and ensure that after every interaction he said, have a nice flight. But obviously, if you're overbooking your flights, that means multiple people are going to have the same seats, as well as people are going to be frustrated and irritated because, hey, I paid for a ticket to get onto this flight, but now I can't get on this flight because it is filled. Now, this was very stressful for Jim as well. It seemed that he was losing his composure with every increasing case, and then there was no set guidelines on how to deal with the situation, as well as when he asked his supervisor just advised him to simply just try and book the passengers onto another flight, which, if they're already overbooked flights, that means that process might get very repetitive and may not actually work, and a customer may actually have to get a flight maybe the next day instead of the day that they want to actually travel. Now, key issues and points of this: the overbooking of flights by friendly management, the increase of services with no increase of staff, as well as flights being overbooked, and no clear guidelines set forth by the company on how to deal with such situations. So if your own supervisor doesn't know how to deal with the situation, aside from saying, hey, let's just book them out of flights, that can be very frustrating. Now, I have been on both ends of the spectrum before. I have worked as an employee and a supervisor, so I know how not having proper guidelines can be very stressful on both ends. We have to just think on the fly, and that doesn't always work sometimes. Now, the case questions were: is Jim headed for trouble? What would be some physical, psychological, and behavioral outcomes of this job stress? Question number 2 was: what could the company do to help reduce the stress in Jim's job? And question number 3 was: what individual coping strategies could Jim try in this situation? Now, my response to question number 1 is actually, so seeing as currently Jim is heading for trouble, and is in trouble due to the overwork, as well as lack of proper training and lack of effective guidelines. What I mean by that is, at the end of the day, there's no set way of dealing with this situation. There's no set guidelines by the company end or, say, a supervisory end. No way of dealing with this situation. And he actually would have to find ways of coping with this. Now, personally, I have dealt with stress in a healthy and unhealthy way, and how I see this possibly going for Jim is that he may choose the unhealthy route by developing certain stress eating disorders, maybe a drinking or smoking habit, something like that may occur. Also, it can affect him psychologically because he may feel unmotivated or not even willing to come to work. That has happened in life to me personally, and I'm sure very many people have actually experienced this. He may distance himself from friends, family, due to the stress eating or the unhealthy eating habits or smoking habits. He may gain weight, feel sluggish. Those kinds of things can happen, as well as he may have thoughts of inadequacy. So psychologically, this can affect him and say, maybe I'm not doing my job very well. Maybe I'm not doing what I have to do. This could lead to depression. Also, if, say, Jim does remain in such a stressful environment, he may actually lash out either verbally or physically at an upset customer, or may just decide to quit. Because being in an unhealthy environment, a stressful environment, is not good for you as a person. It can lead to so many other health issues: weight gain, hair loss, fatigue, depression. May have him, could be in a situation where he actually has to be taking medication to deal with something like antidepressants. And that's never a good thing, because antidepressants, if you like either listen to the ads or look at them, they cause thoughts of suicide and other side effects that could be very detrimental to someone like him or anyone else dealing with something like this. And my response to question number 2 is, in order to alleviate some of Jim's stress, the company could do the following: monitor and limit the number of reservations that could be made for certain flights. So even if they're rolling out something there, they're looking to overbook their flights, if there's a certain limit that they can set with the overbooking, I mean, instead of overbooking it like double or triple, maybe just overbook it like, say, a halfway point. Now, even if you do have people that, hey, may have like 2 people with the same seats, there's more than one way to actually deal with that. Then it would be easier, because hey, it's less people than an entire flight. Also, booking multiple flights to leave at either the same time or within an acceptable time frame for customers. So if you're already overbooking flights, you know that, hey, that means that we're going to have extra people attempting to leave at the same time or around the same time. What if we have more than one plane or more than one means of getting them out of the airport during that time? You could find a way, the company could find a way to set proper guidelines on how to deal with a situation like this. Instead of just having their employees just go in blind, actually look at scenarios, look at comparisons, compare with different airlines, what the different airlines have done. Because I doubt a company would actually just do this on their own without actually thinking things through. They could also train the individuals on how to deal with such situations. With guidelines, that means that some training has to happen on it in terms of how to deal with this. Train Jim, train the supervisor, train them on how to deal with something like this, instead of just having them just go in blind and having to fight their own battles. And then you could also add an additional trained employee to assist Jim, somebody other than Jim. So while Jim is dealing with one customer, somebody else is dealing with another customer. The supervisor may also be dealing with another customer. It makes things work easier, less stressful for everybody, because at the end of the day, the workload is being shared. Primarily looking at this case, it seems that the workload was primarily with Jim. And now for number 3, my response is, Jim is dealing with a highly stressful work environment, and he may have love for his job. So in order to cope with the situation, Jim could actually try the following: maybe some breathing exercises before dealing with another customer. There are times where I actually have to step back and take a deep breath after dealing with, like, say, a very stressful customer, who was very demanding, before I dealt with another one, because I didn't want my energy, the energy that I had from one customer, to pass on to the other. He could constantly remind himself that, hey, the customers are not mad at him personally. They're mad at the situation, but not him. He could also maybe find a hobby or activity after work that could help him work off the stress, such as jogging, yoga, writing, bodybuilding, cooking, something or other where he can actually pour in that energy that he had from work into something else that might actually make him feel better. And maybe you could find someone to vent to. Maybe not a psychologist or anything like that, but maybe just a friend, somebody who's willing to listen. Maybe he has a spouse he can talk to. So all those could be coping mechanisms for him personally that can actually make the day-to-day struggle actually feel a little bit better. Now, my conclusion on this is, in life we all have stressful situations that we face. However, it is how we deal with those situations that matter most. Instead of running away from those situations, we should embrace them as a means and way of helping us grow. These situations that we go through and how we handle them can be passed down, whether it be to coworkers, friends, or family. Stressful situations are learning opportunities, not just for ourselves, but for those around us. And we should not let stressful situations dominate our lives without finding a way to dealing with them. Now, in Jim's case, I do hope that he was able to handle those situations as well as provide as much needed feedback to the company on how the company could do better as a whole. This looked like it was a new endeavor for the company. Maybe they did not do the research that they needed to. Maybe they just wanted to do a field test. But looking at this field test failed badly because they didn't ask for any feedback from the employees on how something like this could possibly impact them, or ask any questions at all on what do they think. So if you do, like, I have recognized this, that if you do ask employees or people out in the field what do they think about the situation, you may get varying opinions, but there are a lot of things that can be like said about a situation that would bring new light. Different perspectives can actually make the situation better instead of worse. Now, thank you so much. I did enjoy this course. I did enjoy the essays, putting all of this, the critical thinking aspect. And this was a case that actually did make me sit and think a lot on, especially had me reminiscing on certain situations that I have been a part of. Thank you so much. And again, my name is Mason-Seaman. Do have a great night, and thank you again.